The Inhumans episode 6, The Gentleman's Name is Gorgon. Now this episode was definitely interesting. There was some stuff that I liked, some stuff that I didn't like so much. We're headed into the last two episodes for this season. And like I said, they did some good stuff here. They did some, it wasn't exactly bad. It was just like, oh, I think that kind of sucks. Mostly, of course, Gorgon being killed off in this episode I thought kind of sucked. Also, the fact that his death was coupled with Mortis, who was at this point, like, actually he was my favorite villain because he was just so sarcastic about everything. I actually really liked his character. I was like, I would love to see him continue on in the series just because he's so sarcastic. He's insanely powerful. He's probably the second most powerful person outside of Black Bolt. So I just always thought that was interesting with him as a character. And they definitely utilized it well in this episode, like the scene with Karnak. But it was just like, oh man, that really sucks. Those were like both characters I liked. Mortis was funny because he was like sarcastic and not exactly douchey, but sort of douchey about stuff. And then Gorgon was the only one out of like the main characters that was actually like lighthearted and had fun with things. I guess technically Crystal as well, but I don't really care for Crystal that much. And it's not even her character, it's just the story I couldn't have cared for. You know, they actually do end up kissing in this episode, which is like, you know, no surprise there. We did get to see her like control lightning, which I thought was cool. I wasn't sure if that was a part of like her elemental stuff, so I thought that was pretty sweet. But I was like, okay, they kiss. The girlfriend being like, oddly, it didn't make sense. I was like, this is just dumb. Like she was legitimately obsessed with this dude. Like it was one thing where it was like, oh, they kind of had issues, but even when they first talked about it, and he was like, you know, she was like, oh, we just broke up, and he was like, yeah, like 6 months ago or a year ago or something crazy. It was like, yeah, she's definitely obsessed with him because there's no reason to be that angry. You know, at that point, it's weird that, you know, you just have this random girl show up and it's like, why'd you call me and you got this random girl here? So sure, but it was clear there was something going on there. Like she's trying to like take pictures of Crystal, like, you know, I'm gonna make sure you're on the registry and stuff. And I was just like, I'm definitely not on her side. That made me think of like a lot of X-Men stuff with the mutant registry thing. So I was like, well, definitely not on her side. But she just seemed to like be going crazy over this guy. And, you know, she said it was like, I just want them to like meet your friend because it could be a threat, which that made sense. But it seemed so much more like the way they did it with her character. It seemed like there was nothing leaning towards, I legitimately feel like this is a threat. Everything she done just seemed like she was oddly jealous and like she was obsessed with the guy. Like nothing that she said was just like, hey, you know, she didn't pull him aside. They didn't do that. You know, in the first episode that she showed up, they should have done that. Like, hey, you know, what if this is a threat or something like that? Like then you see the news and she talks about Black Bolt. None of that came up. It was just, she seemed obsessed, and then like that last line was the only time it actually seemed like she legitimately cared because it may or may not have been a threat to him. So I was just like, all right, well, I just thought, you know, the whole thing was just dumb. I didn't really care for it. But there was a lot of cool stuff in this episode. Who knows if it'll really come back? I mentioned this in my last review. Who knows if this show is going to get a season 2, but they introduced some ideas that I thought were pretty cool. They may or may not just kind of deal with them all here, but Oran, I thought it was cool that we find out her powers are not permanent. She cannot continuously die and come back to life. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it was like a really scientific way to talk about her powers, where it's basically just like aging, where the more, excuse me, like the older we get, the shorter, like I forgot what he called it, but that's like an actual thing. Like that's basically why we age. So it's like if you bruise yourself in some way, like we heal and then it gets shorter and shorter. And for her, of course, it's insanely expanded. She can, you know, up to the point of death, and then she can heal. And it's like, you know, that's going away. And at some point, you'll basically just be human. Like you will die. Like it's going to be there. And of course, it's already happening. Like she could die. Like the next time, she's already got burn marks. If she died, it wouldn't surprise me. Like if her body didn't heal from a burn, this is probably her last life. Like she most likely would be completely killed off, which is the only reason she actually surrendered to Gorgon, where she freaked out. I was like, oh crap, I could die permanently if he like stumps my face in. So of course she ends up giving up there, but that whole sequence I thought was actually cool. I thought it was a cool fight sequence. Definitely dark, a lot of cuts. So I was like, alright, it could be better, but there's some definitely, you know, there were shots in there where I was like, I can see that, so that's good. So most of it I could see, it was just like really fast cutting, and it was kind of dark. Some parts were like, you know, silhouette style, like the part where it's like a wide shot, and around it, basically, she's doing like a flip as they're fighting. I was like, okay, that was a cool shot. It was meant to be like you only see the silhouettes. Plus, of course, that's, you know, an easy way to get like the actual stunt people in there. So it was like, oh, you know, it's totally the actors. But I was like, okay, that's simple. The other stuff was like at weird angles, and it was cutting. It was such a dark sequence. I was like, I feel like this is really cool, but I can only see like 25% of that coolness, and then everything else is just too dark. Or it's not even the fact that it's too dark. It's more the fact that it's dark. Plus they cut so fast, it's a little hard to register some of those hits. Where it's like I can't really tell what they just did because it was so insanely dark. It would just be like a punch, but I'm not 100% sure if that punch landed or if they dodged, because it would be like 1 second. It's like boom, and I'm like, oh well, I was trying to see exactly where the punch was coming from and follow everything at once because it's dark and you have to kind of follow it better. So it made it a little bit difficult to enjoy that fight as much as I feel like we could have if it was brighter. But I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was stunt people. Probably like the whole fight, or most of it for sure. There were definitely like close-up shots. So that's probably why that happened. But definitely a cool fight. Everything before that I thought was actually great. The stuff with Karnak was probably my favorite part of the whole episode, where, you know, Karnak and Gorgon team up, and Karnak is like, alright, well, you know, this is how things could be, and of course I'm not at 100%. And Gorgon's like, well, there can't be a flaw if they don't know that there's one. And the scene starts off pretty funny, where of course Oran, you know, like with Karnak being the character he is, Oran is like, she could just kill this dude, but she doesn't know that, and it's like, you know, I can't do this. Like, he wants me to shoot him because, you know, it's that mind game where, in most cases, it's almost like reverse psychology. But in this case, if he had his powers, I guess technically this is still like reverse psychology. But if he had his powers, that legitimately could have been exactly what he would have wanted. It's like, if I pull the trigger, maybe something will happen, and you just never know. So it was really funny. Whereas, like, she was looking, and it's like, I don't know. And when he takes his hood off, she like freaks out. He's like, hi, Ron, and she like freaks out and goes behind the wall. It's like, I don't know what's happening. Like, the other people could be, you know, right around the corner. I don't know what's going on. But even without him being at 100%, it was super cool. He was doing like his full ninja mode. And when they eventually get to the doc, Declan, and then the other guy, I forgot his name, the other Inhuman that actually helped Black Bolt escape prison. That was a cool scene. You know, Mortis is back there and he's like, alright, you know, because he's talking to her and he sees Karnak go around the corner. He's like, you know, behind the corner, you know, you go take him out. And that's it. And she goes around the corner and it's just like, boom, pressure point. And she was just like knocked completely unconscious from that one hit. And I was like, okay, well, that was actually super cool. And then he had a great scene where Mortis is trying to find them, and he's telling this story about how, you know, basically Mortis's life was complete crap because when he went through Terrigenesis, he came out of it, and of course his face is lighting up. And, you know, you can sense, like, you know, you were literally the face of death. And I just thought that was cool, like the whole story. And then we find out it was fake, that Karnak was definitely on the side of putting him down as soon as that happened, because a ton of people, you know, or at least some people died that day because, you know, boom, crazy mega laser beam slicing through people. So that was a cool scene, and just hearing, you know, seeing Mortis freak out, is like, you know, that didn't happen to Black Bolt, but it happened to me. And there were so many other ways that it could have been handled, but being locked up isn't being alive, that sort of thing. And I was like, that's actually really cool. It was definitely a great moment for both those characters, really. And then, you know, Gorgon steps in, and then that's when Karnak comes in with, like, he just takes him down. Yeah, he takes him down real quick. And then Karnak had a really funny scene. It's probably my favorite one out of it, just as far as like comedy goes. When he was talking, or when he ran into the one guy's dad, the kid who can like see into the future, he ran into his father, who I couldn't tell what was going on with him. Like, it constantly seemed like he could sense extra stuff, but nothing was ever there. It was super weird. It was like, it seemed like that's what was happening the whole episode. So I was like, I was trying to figure out if he had powers beyond just the physical mutation, like, you know, I would assume it was almost like armadillo skin or something, so his arms were like insanely tough. They could, you know, like almost like break blades or something. Although we don't get to really see that. So when he runs into Karnak, he's like, "Whoa!" and he says his name, and he's like, "We met at your son and daughter's Terrigenesis thing." And then he was just like, "Oh, boom, pressure point," and he just come down. He's like, "Don't worry, you'll have a slight headache." And I was like, that was actually super funny. Like, he just distracted him for like a second. It was just like, it just got him right in the neck and just took him down. It's like a Vulcan nerve pinch or something. So that I thought was really funny because he just got completely distracted. Like, that whole time, he was the one who was like ready to go into war, and he was the only one out of all those people where, you know, he saw Maximus and it was like, you know, I want to do this. You know, they even do the recap where he's like, he's the only one who was excited to be a part of like this little regime. And the whole thing was him kind of being confident and being ready to go into the fight. And that was like his one moment that he had, and he just got knocked out super fast. So I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know if he died, because technically Gorgon did take out like the whole building. Well, I guess not. I guess it was just the scaffolding stuff around them, because technically when Black Bolt, Medusa, and Crystal showed up, they weren't inside of a building still. It was just like the actual canopy type stuff is what collapsed on them. So the kid's dad might actually still be alive, but they don't really touch on what's happening with like the villain characters. They basically all just escape once Mortis decides he's not going back to Adelan and he tries to take his mask off. So Gorgon sadly sacrifices himself. Like I said, I thought that sucked mostly because I think Gorgon was my favorite, just because of the fact that he was really funny. And then him and Karnak, I thought were going to be even better. Like, I liked them in general because Karnak was like a super douchebag to Gorgon and to everyone. And then Gorgon was the one who was like just silly and having fun and stuff. And of course he's a fighter. But the two of them together were entertaining. And then I thought it only got better when they reunited because Karnak wasn't at 100%. He wasn't as douchey as normal. So he's like learning to be more normal, and it's like, this is actually really entertaining to watch the two of them team up where, Gorgon still has the strength and Karnak still has, his special skills, like him knocking people out like a ninja with one hit. So they still have like their insane skills. And it's just like, man, this really sucks that they killed off, either one of them. It would have sucked because they are honestly like my two favorite characters in the whole show is Karnak and Gorgon, because they have, Karnak has changed, so I like his personality a lot more now that he's unsure. But in general, he had cool stuff to do. Like him being able to see everything was just a cool aesthetic visually for the show. And then, like I said, Gorgon was just the only like lighthearted person in the entire series. So it would have sucked to see either of them die. But Gorgon is gone, and that was pretty much it. It was like official. It wasn't like maybe they could bring him back or anything. It was like, no, he is dead. I don't know what the deal is with Mortis because I guess if he's dead or if he's even knocked out, because I think they showed it where when Karnak like choked him, they had like the energy, because you can see his eyes, and it looked like they faded away. So it was like if he's knocked out, his powers almost don't activate. And I would assume that's his entire face because it lights up because that's his face. So I guess if he's like officially dead, then it doesn't matter, and that's why they could do it with the helmet off, and there's not like a crazy laser beam shooting through the sky permanently. So I would assume that he's officially dead. If he's not, then he's knocked unconscious, and we will see that come up in the next episode. I would imagine he'll wake up and then just boom, he's shooting a laser out of his face. So we'll see if they do that, because that would just be an insane thing to pull off, where just randomly he wakes up and that's how that goes. But like I said, I thought this was actually a really entertaining episode. They just had that part, with Gorgon dying. I was like, oh, that sucks because he's really entertaining. So, it sucked to see him go, but everything else I did, I actually thought was cool. The stuff with, like I said, Gorgon and Karnak teaming up to take on Oran and her people, that was definitely entertaining. Like, the action was pretty good, and then the comedy of it with Karnak was definitely entertaining as well. Maximus on Adelan was definitely entertaining to watch, with him officially going through like the crazy tyrant mode. And I was like, okay, he's getting to that point where he officially is the tyrant. Probably worse even than his brother was, because he's the tyrant that doesn't realize that he's a tyrant. And sometimes that can be worse because you'll just kind of snap on anybody and everybody. But he was smart enough. They have a little flashback with him training with Gorgon, and he's getting beat up and stuff, and the sneak attack thing. It's like, oh, okay. So my buddy is telling me that we should deal with some things alone. Somebody is, there's a conspiracy against me, someone is trying to kill me. And he knew that Tybor was betraying him. So it's like, okay, well, I'll meet you down there. We'll figure out what's going on. He takes the kid. He tries to get a bit of a hint on the future. And I think he knew, because that didn't really seem to help. Like, he was freaking out. But he was like, were we happy or were we angry? And he was like, and I love this line where he said he was happy. And he was like, how are we happy? If we weren't like dancing or doing whatever. It's like, we only gave me 2 options and you didn't look angry. And I thought that was actually a really funny line, because the kid was like super scared. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, you only gave me 2 options. But of course, we do find out that he was lying, which I figured he was anyway. But of course, it is shown officially at the end of the episode that the kid was lying to him because he was, freaked out. But I don't know. I was curious, honestly. I was wondering if Maximus was going to kill the kid no matter what he said, but he is too valuable of an asset. He can see the future. But I was thinking, in that moment, it was like he killed his friend. He was like, we have your families, and if you fight, they'll be killed, so put your weapons down. And it's like, it's a shame you followed him. And he just slit his old friend's throat, and it's just this crazy situation. And I was like, I don't know if it matters if this kid says, that he's king or not. And I was just like, I don't know, it might kill him. But it was a great scene because Maximus was like on the verge of tears. It was like, I just need somebody to trust in me. Like, I need someone to be on my side. And it's like, man, last couple episodes have actually been really good. Like, if the show started like this, I feel like the show would have kicked off to a much better start for people. But it was just like, man, this is the last two episodes I would definitely say have been really entertaining. And that was one of those moments where it was like, I don't know what's going to happen with him because he's starting to really go over the edge. He didn't really have anyone anyway. And then the only person that he really confided in, who was his old friend, ultimately did end up trying to betray him. And so it's like, all right, well, gotta kill you now. And I was just like, I don't know if he's going to kill this kid too. But he needs him. He is an insanely grand asset. So, of course, he keeps the kid around. And going into the last two episodes, the way they did the promo, they kind of make it seem like they're going to offer Maximus a deal to go through Terrigenesis again, like kind of do what the doctor was saying. So we'll see how that plays out, but they definitely brought it up. Medusa talking to Black Bolt about how, Black Bolt promised to be a different type of king, and that's kind of what they actually need to do because they hadn't really changed too much. So that was cool. I was like, all right, well, they're definitely inching towards making them legitimate good characters, because that's like the whole thing with the show is that it's like they basically stick to the caste system, which it's a big reason why a lot of people don't like the show, because basically the heroes or the main characters are basically supporting like this moon-based version of slavery. So it's like, all right, they're transitioning them into being much better characters. I don't know what's going to happen with Maximus, but it seems like they're trying to basically keep everything together, like the best of both worlds, like not completely kill your brother, but also not completely control the people, and kind of do what Maximus is attempting to do, but in a much better way. So I am hopeful, I guess, that that's how it turns out. It might not matter. I'm honestly in like this crazy thing where it's like, I want to think of all these theories and talk about how this could change and that, but I'm so worried that this show is just going to get canceled. I don't even want to do it because it just started off with just such bad press. I'm just like, I just don't know if I even want to think about the possibilities for this, but it's getting better, which really sucks because I'm like, I just don't know if that matters at this point because of the heat it was getting once that, the whole IMAX thing came on. And even when the first episode officially came out, it was like, oh, people weren't super excited. So it does suck because I've seen, especially in these last two episodes, like, man, these last two have been really, really good. This one and the last one were great. Some of the characters are definitely entertaining. Mortis, I thought, was a great character. As soon as he was introduced, it's like he's insanely powerful, but he's also just like, whatever, just do this and do that. And he's super nonchalant about everything and kind of douchey too. So that was fun. And they've introduced, some other interesting characters. The Doctor, Declan, I think he could definitely play an interesting role in the series as far as, letting the Inhumans know what their powers can and cannot be, allowing them to go through Terrigenesis a second time, that sort of thing. Or at least I think that may specifically be in Maximus's case, but maybe for everyone, and they, you could technically get double powers or something like that, or you just change to a new power. But I thought that was really cool. I was like, okay, there's definitely elements here, but like I said, it's like that fear of this show just not making it is what makes me think like, I don't know if I really want to go into all the theory stuff. But 2 episodes left. I'm very curious how things are about to play out with the way, this episode didn't. We had, the loss of a character. We still have Oran and her people out there, but the team is back together with Lockjaw. Although technically, the girl who was the doctor, the vet, she did say that Lockjaw shouldn't be jumping around a lot. I don't know if that's actually going to come into play in the next episode, because I was like, all right, well, they did that extra jump at the end to get to Karnak and Gorgon. Will they have enough to get to Adeline in the next episode, or is there going to be like some extra little thing where it takes a minute? Because I'm super curious, like if they just go there in the beginning of the next episode, there still needs to be some conflict. You have 2 episodes left, so I'm just curious how that's supposed to play out if they do end up being able to just teleport right there. It's like, all right, Lockjaw, we're here, now you can rest, but they're already there, and they just take back over. I don't think it would be that big of a fight if they decided to fight off whoever is falling behind Maximus. So I have to wait and see how this all ends up shaping out for the last 2 episodes, but would love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it, and naturally with the death of a character, technically 2. Oddly enough, I normally don't care about like the villain, especially like side villain characters, but I thought Mortis was really funny. So would love to know what you guys thought about the deaths in this episode. We lost Gorgon, we lost Mortis. It sucks for both. Like I said, I think Mortis was a cool villain character because of his power, and especially what they did with the Karnak scene. I feel like, man, he could have like so many more moments if he was a more important character. If he was one of the major characters, they could have moments like that where he's insanely powerful like Black Bolt, but he was cast off while Black Bolt was the son of the king, so that's why he became the king. It's like, that's interesting. I feel like that's just better. This is just more entertaining to watch. And then, like I said, Gorgon was just funny. And Yeah, it sucks because everybody else is so serious. It's just so serious, except for Louise. She's pretty funny too, but everyone else is pretty much just like dead serious, and it's like, all right, well, once they go back to Adelan, it's just a bunch of serious people and soon to be dead people, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So, we'd love to know what you guys thought about the deaths, or how you guys are feeling about the deaths, or stupid, should have kept those characters. Which characters would you guys have killed off? I'm sure a lot of people would just go with Medusa and Black Bolt. Yeah, I don't care too much for either of them. Mostly, I just want Black Bolt to stay in the show because I like his powers, but I'm sure they're going to do like in the comics. He can't really use them that much, and he kind of only has super strength a little bit in this, so... like, he's definitely got it, but it's not like as strong as I've seen in the comic books, and he can't fly either, so... I don't know, it's like not as cool as he even is in the comic books because they took out one of his powers. He can't use his main power because it's so powerful. And then, you know, the strength is like lessened. So it's just like, meh, who cares? But we'd love to know what you guys thought and, you know, about the character deaths and of course this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.